All right. Good evening, everyone. I say evening. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you guys for taking out time to join us this morning for an insightful session. I'm super excited to see. I can see some persons I recognize here. Hi, Ken. Hi, Blessing. Hi, Joel. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, Jumai. Hi, Damaris. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're excited. I hope you're expectant, and I hope that you came with your writing pads and your your pens or your pencils or whatever it is that you prefer to write with, because we're going to have a very insightful time. This is not just going to be another online webinar that you join and then you hear the normal things and then you go back. We're going to make this very interactive as possible. We're going to make sure that the conversations are practical, they are impactful, and we're able to take something out of it so that when we go back, we're able to apply it to um, work. So for those of you that don't know, my name is Sharon Chairhemen, but you can call me Sensational Sharon, and I'm super excited to be the moderator for today. We're going to have an amazing time. I have two of the most experienced, seasoned personnel based on the conversation we're about to have today. I think that this panel was carefully selected because when you hear their biographies, you know that they are the perfect fit for what we're discussing. But before we will introduce them and we get started, for just the next 2 minutes or so, I would like to meet some of us in the comments. So if you can hear me, you can go into the comments and just let us know where you are joining us from and maybe the name of your organization, something like that. Maybe your next partner or the next sponsor for your project might be here. So you can just let us know, hi, I'm Sharon, I'm joining from Abuja, I'm the team lead of Green with Green, something like that. Let's get to know each other in the comment section. So that we don't just attend and get the knowledge. We're here for the knowledge, we're here for the practical tips we can apply to our work, and as well as meeting people. It's not only when you go for a physical event that you network, you can network here as well. Let us know your name, let's know your organization, where you're joining us from. And who knows, maybe the next panel session we're having to be you and the other person in the comments. So let's go to the comment section and type our names, locations, and names of our organization if you have one. Oh wow, interesting. Okay, I'm seeing some people here. Let me read some of the let me read some of the comments that I'm getting. Oh, this is interesting. I like this. Okay. We have hi, I'm Marilyn from Support Humanity Cameroon. Hi, all the way from Cameroon. Welcome. I'm Sarah from EcoCycle Development Foundation in Nigeria. My EcoCycle people, hi. Monica Adamu is joining us all the way from Medugri from Wellspring Foundation. Interesting. And then we have Zone Zero, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Zone Zero from WFAC Cameroon. Oh, we have a lot of Cameroonians here. That's very interesting. So welcome Monica from Midugri. Welcome Zonezio from Cameroon as well. Welcome Sarah from guessing Abuja, Nigeria. Marilyn from Cameroon as well. Okay, we have Victoria all the way from Enugu. We have Chidebere. Oh, our speaker. We have Elizabeth from Adama. Welcome everyone. Welcome. It's super excited. Berry from Lagos. Oh my God. This is interesting. Uyo Ekaite from Uyo. We have Jacob from Gombe. That's interesting. I like this. We have a very diverse audience here today. That's very interesting. From Ecosystem and Sustainable Development, Gombe State, Nigeria. That's very interesting. It's a pleasure to meet you all virtually. I'm super excited for the conversation for today. So while we get to know each other in the comments, our session for today, we're going to be talking about, plastic pollution and, basically how we can tackle plastic pollution and build resilient communities. Now, when you talk about resilient communities, we're talking about different factors. Meaning that they're resilient economically, they're able to withstand environmental or climate conditions, and socially or socioeconomically, the community is growing. So, we're going to be talking about beyond waste, how we can tackle plastic pollution and build resilient communities. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, the people that we have, our speakers for today, their biographies are very, very impressive. So the first, our first panelist is Loretta Boniface, who is an environmentalist, a development professional, a climate negotiator, and a global partnership for education. That's GPE youth leader with half a decade of experience leading projects across Africa to address climate crisis, promote climate education, circular economy, and amplify the voices of women and youth in the most affected and underserved communities by strengthening their adaptive capacity and building resilience to the climate impact. She's the executive director of EcoCycle. So, EcoCycle people say hi. She's the executive director of EcoCycle, a youth led organization working to promote climate education and circular economy, and also the co founder of the African Female Negotiators Program, a feminist initiative that is addressing the systemic underrepresentation of women in climate change decisions. What means is that when you say Loretta is a negotiator, it means that when you go for things like SBs, when you go for things like COP, they're usually the ones at the table helping us negotiate, make the decisions that, are the policies that affect all our work. And then Loretta provides capacity building for women and for women-led organizations and mentors young women across Africa, right, on climate diplomacy. And she's currently using gamified approach to promoting climate education globally. Her projects have directly promoted gender climate justice and climate smart green skills, impacting 50 plus communities in Nigeria to address energy poverty and climate illiteracy, and has empowered 20,000 plus young women and people. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I know you cannot unmute, but if you can go into the comment section and just drop clapping emojis, that would be amazing. Let us appreciate our first speaker, Loretta Boniface. This is an impressive portfolio. She has put in the work. She has the experience on site. She has the experience in terms of the knowledge, the policies, and she has done the work on site. So this is a very balanced, a very, very balanced profile. I'm looking forward to learning from her and getting her opinion on some of the things we'll be discussing. And our second speaker is no other person but Mr. Chidiebere Ugu. And I'm going to just read out his biography very quickly. He's a seasoned climate change expert with over a decade of experience driving policy and grassroots action at the intersection of climate and security in Nigeria. Those two things are very important: climate and security in Nigeria. He currently serves as the focal point of the Coalition for Social Ecological Transformation, that's COSET Nigeria, where he plays a leading role in coordinating advocacy efforts for a just and inclusive ecological transition. Now, for the past 10 years, Chidiebere has worked with the Frederick Ebert Stiftung FES, where he has been central to advancing work in climate change and security thematic areas. His work focuses on highlighting the deepening links between environmental degradation, resource conflict, and human security, particularly in vulnerable communities. Now, through strategic partnerships, research, and policy dialogue. So, partnerships, research, dialogue, Chidebere continues to champion people-centered approaches to climate justice and sustainable peace building in Nigeria and beyond. Please, another round of applause in the comment section for our very, very amazing second speaker, Mr. Chidebere. We're super excited to have you guys here. I believe both of them are already here. They were already here long before some of you even joined. So if they can just say hi to us just for a minute. Welcome, Loretta. Welcome, Mr. Chidebere. If you can just say hi to us, let's see that you're
Thank
here.
you, Sharon.
Oh, welcome, Loretta.
Thank you,
Thank you so much for
Sharon.
being here. Hi, Mr. Chidebere. It's super exciting. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I've seen the work that both of you do. And based on today's topic, I'm really, really excited for us to dive into this conversation. All right, so without us wasting much time, I'm just going to open with, let me say, more of like an icebreaker. I know people are here to give us wisdom, people are here to spit, all the facts. You're here to give us policies, you're here to give us acronyms and all of that. But just something fun for you guys to start with. That'll take us about a minute or two. Now, imagine, let's assume that you're supposed to come back to this life as an animal or a fruit. What animal or fruit will you come back as and why? Or if you're supposed to describe yourself as an animal or a fruit, what animal or fruit would you describe yourself as and why? And I'm going to start with Mr. Chidebere. Yes, so please tell us, what animal or what fruit would you be?
Honestly, I never thought of this before. Good morning.
Now you're thinking.
So I think if it's gonna be an animal, I think I'd rather stick to being a lion.
A lion, okay.
Yes, basically because also from the Cancer sign, I'm also a Leo, so I think that kind of stick naturally. So lion because it's kind of king of the savannah,
Mm,
not scared of anything. It's just there, daring everybody, and also trying to keep the peace somehow. So I think lion would be fine. But if I could come back as a fruit, I, I think I want to be a banana because everybody loves banana.
a banana.
Everybody
Okay.
likes banana. All right.
That's interesting, Mr. Chidebere. That's interesting. How about you, Lorita? If you were to come back as a fruit or an animal, which would you come back as
Okay,
and why?
I would start with the fruit and I'll come back as a pineapple. And this
Hmm.
is because there's two face to a pineapple, the sweet and the basbos. And it's a very interesting fruit that would give you whatever you want at any given time.
Okay.
And for an animal, I would like to come back as a tiger. And this is because tiger is also fierce and beautiful. Love the stripes, love the color, and very, very rare species of the wild cat and very beautiful.
Hmm. Okay, okay, interesting. I love that. I love that. So, Mr. Chidebe will come back as the lion king of the jungle and come back as banana. Because banana is a fruit that makes people happy. And then Lorita wants to come back as pineapple because there's the sweet side and there's the gbasgbos side. For the non-Nigerians, gbasgbos is, the side that if I'm not going to fight, but if you bring on the battle, I'm not going to run away from the ring. We're going to we're going to go at each other. And then the tiger because she loves the beautiful stripes and is also a very special species of the cat family. For me, I think based on the fruit, I think I'll come back, or I think I'm already a coconut. Coconut, when they say somebody has coconut head, that's a saying in Nigeria, coconut head. So I think I already have coconut head. And then I love the fact that the coconut has so many useful parts. You can use the husk for a fire, you can eat the flesh, that's the white part, make it into milk, make it into oil, make it into so many things, and then you drink the water. There are just so many benefits. And if I was supposed to come back as an animal, but maybe I'll come back as I don't know a particular species of dog, so that I can just be inside somebody's house living soft life. Because I don't know if people have seen the way some people take care of their dogs. It's even more than the way some people take care of their children. So I'll come back as some people's dog, so that I'll live soft life in my next life. But that's good. So you guys can also drop yours in the comment section. That was just something fun to lighten up the moment before we get started. All right. So for my amazing speakers, our topic is beyond waste, tackling plastic pollution and building resilient communities. And I'm going to start with Lorita. Based on your the portfolio that I read and the work that I know personally that you've done, I can see that you've actually built an impressive youth-led movement through EcoCycle, impacting thousands. Now, what are some of the most effective approaches that you've used over the past few years to get young people and women to actually care about and act on plastic pollution? What are some of the approaches? Is it by plastic ban? Is it by telling them that plastic is going to kill them? Is it by doing cleanups? Like, what are some of the most effective approaches you've used to get young people and women to care about and act on plastic pollution? Loretta.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. You've been doing great with the moderation. And thank you also for the introduction. This question you've asked and you've also answered a bit of it. However, for EcoCycle particularly, we've had very distinct approach because from the start and to the point where we are right now, it's been community driven. And we've been leveraging on local communities, trying to train and give them practical skills. And some of the approaches are just really very practical, like I mentioned. And I'm going to just mention three at this point. And number one, I would say for the communities, the women, the youth, and whoever is in the community, even the children, we meet them at their point, at the point of whatever they understand. I think that's one wonderful and exciting way we've been able to drive some of our initiative and our programs to meet them at that place and whatever they understand. And this is because when you talk about waste management, recycling, and all of that, it's been as old as man. And for me as a young person growing up, I grew up in the north, and there's this thing, there's this kind of recycling that they do there. Then I know whenever I'm coming back from school, it's very fascinating. I will stand, and it's those people that pick cans, all those steel cans, and recycle them into
Iron
pots.
condemn.
Ion condemn. And these are the pots that most of us use at home. So it's interesting to know you can pick cans from the street and you pile it up, take it to those people, and they're able to recycle them into a pot that you come back, and when it's time for occasion, you're using this pot. When it's time to cook, you're using the. It was so fascinating at this point. So you would not go to a community and start coming from a place of, oh, I brought something very new, not knowing that this is a practice that has been going on years after years, like long time ago. So you have to meet them at the place they understand, the place they resonate, and what they can relate to. And that's one approach that has helped us over the years. And secondly, uh, our initiative has been focused on skills and innovation, and that's to young people. For every community and every program we've held, it has really touched young people at that place of innovation, that place of practical skill. And this is where young people pay attention to. You sometimes we talk the theoretical part of the things, but bringing it into practical things they can understand. Touching innovation in whatever you're doing is something fascinating. And every young person in Nigeria right now is in that demand. His heart is in demand of innovation, something that will blow his mind, not something outside of what he's doing, but inside whatever he's doing. How do you bring in that little innovation that would make him think of doing it better and scaling it in a very a great way? And thirdly, I would say we have brought in a combination of awareness, education, and also economical opportunities for this community. And that has, I think that's like the soul of whatever we're doing, trying to bring it and merging it with economical opportunities from all our projects, even from the most recent we've done, is trying to tie it to economical opportunity. And that is what will really interest a lot of communities, because you can't just say, oh, you want to save the planet. Oh, yeah, I'm saving the planet. I'm saving, but then where is the benefit for me? So linking the benefit for the planet and the benefit for their pockets, it's a really good match for those communities. And that has been, these approaches have been what has helped us driven so many projects in so many communities in Nigeria and across Africa. Thank you.
Wow, very impressive. So, from what I got from your contribution, and those of us who are in the space, the climate space, you know that what she's saying is very true. For women in the underserved communities, and even let's start women in the underserved communities, like she said, you have to relate to them with something they understand. You can't come and telling them about CO2, ozone layer, all of those things. It just doesn't make sense to them. But like local recycling, showing them that there's value in trying to save the planet is one of the ways that can get them to actually care about plastic pollution. And for the young people, innovation, something exciting, something new, something that can be tangible, they can see tangible impact, makes it easier for them to care about plastic pollution. So I think that's a lesson for some of us who are in the space and you want to go into a community to, even if the community has a problem, they are drowning in plastic by themselves. If you don't give them these practical tips, like show them the economic impact or show them something beneficial to them, you're just talking about the practical, the theory part, the ozone layer, the greenhouse gases, it doesn't make sense. They can't relate and do not take action. Thank you so much for that, Laurie. moderator. And then I'm going to move very quickly to Mr. Chidebere, based on your biography that I read. I've seen that you've worked extensively at the intersection of climate and security, which are two very key, should I say, development problems. On their own, climate is already a big problem. On its own, security is a big problem. Now, in a country like Nigeria, the two of them, and let's thank God we have more than Nigerians, we have Cameroonians. You agree with me that actually in places like West Africa, security is a big pillar of a problem on its own. Climate is another one. So those are like two big problems. But many people don't see any link between them. They just see plastic pollution as a waste management issue. How are you able to let people know through your work, or how are you able to inform people correctly that plastic pollution is actually either a trigger or a multiplier for insecurity and conflict in Nigeria? So this is how I would like you to answer the question. I would like you to be very practical, like show us examples of where you've seen the two of them, the two problems merging and causing a larger problem, or one of them increasing the other or multiplying the effect of the other problem, especially in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Mr. Chidiberi.
All right. Thank you very much, Sharon, for that quick one. Yes, when we talk about plastic pollution in Nigeria, we're not just talking about for me, from my own point of view, from my own standpoint, because I work currently at the policy level. I really, really admire the work that EcoCycle does at the grassroots level, because they're both kind of complementing each other. So while we're working at the policy level with people that have power and influence to change things, we're also relying on people that work at the grassroots level, like EcoCycle and Co., to also create a kind of change in behavioral change among the people. Because if the policy comes down and the people refuse to change their own behavior, so we'll now have a kind of bottleneck. So most times in my own field of work or my area of expertise, when we talk about plastic pollution, we're not just talking about littered streets or blocked drainages or a pile of trash made of plastic. We're talking about something that is deeply interconnected, issues that touches everybody, both health, livelihood, governance, and security. So we see plastic pollution or the issues around plastic as a collective problem that touches deeply on what we call our human security. So in my work, especially in this intersection of climate change and insecurity or peace building, I've also come to see that something that is Augustina, can you mute, please?
Blessing, please help us mute all participants and just unmute only the speakers, please.
So can I go ahead? Okay.
Augustina, please mute your mic.
Thank you very much. I think she just did. Anyways, so I've seen how something as little, as mundane as a plastic bag can set up chains of vulnerability, can set up an action that would surprise you to what extent it will go. Flooding, displaced family, pollution, farmland disappearing or being destroyed. You also have rising tensions between fragile communities. So plastic pollution, as we often dismiss it as a sanitation issue, but in Nigeria, it is deeply linked with insecurity. For instance, if you look at the flood-prone communities like Makoko, the ones in Makoko and in Lagos, and also parts of Bayelsa and parts of Benue, you know how much government have voted to solve issue of flooding in Bayelsa and these areas. So plastic waste will block drainages. They will also worsen flood. They kind of increase the flood because the natural pathways of these floods have been blocked by plastic. So it leads to people being displaced. And at the end of the day, when people are displaced, what do? They move into another community. So the host community and the visiting community will now do what? Scramble for scarce resources. So maybe the community they have moved into is already under pressure, immense pressure that their facilities cannot handle. For instance, if there is a massive flood in Maraba region, and people living in Maraba are like 10 times the people living in Yanya. So if there's flood in Maraba region, Maraba is a part in Nasarawa State, Nyanya is a part in Abuja. So if there's a flood in Maraba region and people move from Maraba into Nyanya, the general hospital cannot contain people who are already sick. The already existing infrastructure will not contain people. So that will now lead to what? That singular displacement caused by flood that is caused by the plastic that was thrown by somebody that drank pure water somewhere will now lead to communal clash, will now lead to rising tension, will now lead to scarce resources and heavy competition for whatever is left. So conflict affected areas like the Northeast, where massive wastes are not being managed, or you have IDP camps where wastes are not being managed properly, you have what? You have high risk of health issues. So you have people who become sick, confrontation between frontline workers and those in the IDP camps. You also have resentment building up, and all these are what? Conflict between persons and hosts, sometimes between host communities and visiting communities. So plastic pollution amplifies existing vulnerabilities. Plastic on its own does not cause conflict, but when it is not managed properly, it becomes a conflict multiplier, like I've already explained. If there's a flood somewhere and people are now displaced, you now have the problem of managing people that are displaced in a new community. Sometimes those communities are not friendly. Sometimes those communities are hostile. And these anthropogenic causes of insecurity is also a serious trigger for insecurity and conflict in most parts of the country. So this intersection that I work on, we kind of look for ways to push for laws, to push for regulations that will address issues around plastic pollution without destroying the already existing community, without increasing or impeding on the fragility of already coexisting communities. So that's what we basically do. I think when more questions come, I can shed more light as to how we're doing that. Sharon? Hello? Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear you,
Yes, we can
Chidinma.
hear you.
Can hear you.
Okay, okay,
yes,
fantastic.
I can hear you.
Okay, Sharon, over. Or should I just continue? I think Sharon is
Yes,
currently.
you can continue, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so you introduced me as lead focal point for corset. Yes, in corset, as I've already mentioned, we've looked at how some well-intentioned plastic bans or recycling mandates have failed in fragile communities. For instance, when you copy policies, when you just copy policies from another community, maybe something that has worked, for instance, something that worked very well in Ethiopia, you copy it and you say you want to implement it somewhere in Nigeria without looking at the current realities here and without looking at the realities back there, you find out that you would only amplify already existing problems. So if a state level policy banning single-use plastic is imposed, say in Nasarawa State, for instance, if that is imposed in Nasarawa State, that will not take into recognition that the other rural women, rural traders, market women, and also market men who depend on these things to package food will now suffer. So it leads to enforcement clashes and also economic strain. You cannot just go full on out and implement plastic ban. So those are one of the things those are one of the issues that we raise when we have well-intentioned ban on plastic. So why we want to ban plastic, we're not encouraging the government to go full out on these policies. So there are glimpses. We have to look at this, look at localized bylaws in communities. So when you look around these localized bylaws, like if you look around communities like in the Niger Delta, where you see women cooperatives are now involved in waste sorting. So they sort this waste, they take out the plastic, they use them to make bricks, and also they continue to use others to make other things. For instance, some weeks ago, we were in Uke with EcoCycle and some other organization, Eco Stewards and Eco Journalists, and so many others I can remember, and UPAD. When we had women come out to look at how to turn plastic into wealth. It was an interesting experience. And when I look around the community, there were tons and tons of plastic waste. And if these women now recognize or realize that they can actually turn this plastic waste into wealth, they will definitely stop throwing things around. And tensions will definitely reduce when you have people come together, work together, sort things together, and um, do a kind of mini recycling or localized recycling in their community. It kind of helps to bridge or stop some kind of conflicts. Sharon?
Wow, thank you so much for that. Thank you. And thank you for making it very practical, for giving us real life examples. Because I think, like you mentioned, if not just women in rural communities, even people in urban areas, if everyone it begins to get enlightened on the fact that problems like plastic pollution are not isolated problems that exist in silos, it don't affect any other thing, it's not my problem, my own house is not getting flooded. By the time you realize that, like you mentioned, people in the suburban areas, outskirts of town, like Maraba, that they have a higher concentration of people, and meaning that there's likely to be more pollution because there are more people there. Those kind of areas become uninhabitable. These people move into areas that are already inhabited. It's putting a strain on the natural resources, putting a strain. That's some of the things that have caused some of these clashes that we have in communities, some other communities, farmer header, is because there's just such a strain on both the natural and the structural resources. And when you can show these people that this waste that they're throwing away, number one, can harm them, but number two, can actually be turned into a resource, then we'll see behavioral change. And thank you so much for that. I really like that. Now I'm going to go back to Loretta, because you do a lot of work in youth and women. So I wanted to ask, like in the circular economy space, what are some of the barriers that youth and women face in trying to build green livelihoods, or trying to get into a circular economy? You tell someone to get you tell someone that, oh, they should use paper bags or use something else instead of plastic bags. Some people complain that, oh, this green lifestyle, this green so and so is more expensive. I bet let me just buy my normal pure water, then buy my normal and just throw it away. So what are some of the barriers that are keeping young people and women from building green livelihoods, or being yes, from building green livelihoods or being actively involved in the green economy? So what are some of those challenges, and how can they overcome them?
Okay. Thank you again, Sharon. And to Chidi, thank you for recalling the last project we had in UK. It was really, really impactful. So for the challenges, we could go on and on and on and talk about the problems. And I think most times problems and the challenges are tied to funding and awareness. But in the case where there is awareness, what else is a problem? Then we talk about the more contemporary things like technology. And we have seen the current move from even the waste speakers, and we have women and youth that are in this sector, and the informal waste speakers, I would say, where before now they could just go to the streets, go to the restaurants and everywhere and pick and sell. But we have things like the reverse vending machine now. We have a lot of technologies coming up, and it's just springing up as the day goes by. And you start thinking, what's the fate of these local women? What's the fate of the young people in the communities that are not inclined to this technology? That is a very big challenge. And once you start taking it from that angle, you know that the challenge now is beyond funding. The challenge is now beyond awareness, because when the awareness comes, how do these people deal with the transition to this contemporary technology? And since it is here staring at us at the face, what are those initiatives that would drive? And I appreciate a lot of organizations, and most importantly, Ecobata, that is really driving these technologies in Nigeria. So, but then at the same pace, we must be intentional about inclusion, bringing in women, bringing in young people to introduce them to this aspect of life, aspect of technology that is really the main source of income right now. And for us at EcoCycle, we've been doing a lot in research. However, we've introduced other programs. Like last year, we launched the Climate Innovators Hub. Now we are trying to hear from other young people. What are those things you have researched? What are those affordable technologies that are really handy for women and young people. And we had entries from everywhere. In partnership with Youth Hub Africa, we had entries from everywhere across Nigeria. And when it was time for them to come, I know there was really fair hearing on the side of inclusion. You had more women come to pitch in their ideas, and some of those people had apps. There's this guy that had a wristwatch, and the wristwatch was made from recycled materials, and it could tell you, oh, this is the time to reuse, or remember to recycle, or you have to plant a tree today, you have to do this. And these are very mind-blowing ideas, mind-blowing technologies, very affordable coming up. But then there's also a space, since it's a gap, there's also a space for more research to see how this technology can come to down to these people at a very little cost. And more so also considering the place of transition, because you cannot just bring it to them and say, okay, this is a technology, this is what is happening, and you as a community must like lead it or jump into the practice. You must have a place of seamless transition for them to start understanding that this is what's happening. And that is also what we do as EcoCycle, bringing down, trickling down this innovations at the grassroots level from the place of awareness, telling the women, telling the young people. Like the last project we had in UK, we had a lot of presentation. Now linking these women to the realities that are happening out there, outside Nigeria, and telling them that, yeah, it can really happen, and pointing them to people that are already doing it in the country to tell them that it is possible. However, you must prepare your mind to launch into this transition, to this new phase of reality. So that is what we've been doing. And the Climate Innovators Lab, we intend this year to scale it up, still in partnership with the Youth of Africa and also Action Aid, to scale it up, involve more young people, more young women. And so the last winner was a lady, and I was really impressed to see that a woman won the Climate Innovators Lab last year. So we're looking to involve more young women, more women, even more youth, and even persons with disability. Let's hear from them. Let's hear from the research they have done. Let's hear from the solutions they have to address some of these challenges. Thank you.
Oh wow, thank you so much for that. And from all the things you said, there's something I picked up, the guy with the wristwatch that, there's a reminder, oh, you need to plant it this, you need to plant it that. That's very interesting. That's a fun way. Sometimes I feel like sometimes the reason why people don't participate in like anything climate or SDGs, they just feel like it's boring. All we do is talk about Paris Agreement. All we do is talk about greenhouse gases. All we do is talk about those with our plenty jargons and plenty acronyms, right? And I want to pick up from that. Like that's a very interesting way to solve climate illiteracy, which is one of the major things that you are known for. You guys are pioneering gamified climate education. Those of you that don't know, you might have seen the game somewhere. My own is in the other room. The plan game by EcoCycle, the plan game by EcoCycle. So they are gamifying climate solution, making it a fun and interesting thing to do. So you are pioneering gamified climate education. And just like that guy, that's a very fun way, but it's just a way that it's going to build systemic and behavioral changes. For they don't even need the reminder from the research. They are doing all those things by themselves. Can you just talk to us about the game, talk to us about gamified climate education, how you guys thought about it, like what informed uh, you guys gamifying climate education, and how has it been so far? Can you give us practicals of how it has demystified climate science and how it has actually helped people to take impact? I would like to hear the story or the journey of gamifying climate education.
Okay, thank you so much again, Sharon. The journey of Plan Game has been a very interesting journey for the team at EcoCycle, because EcoCycle is 5 this year, and since its inception, it's been about education, innovation, and all of that. And we're at the place of awareness and education, especially interacting with young people, you find out that, and we all agree that the climate change and the climate science have so much abstract words in it, so much, it's so ambiguous sometimes. And you talk about adaptation, and somebody can know adaptation as an English word, but would not know adaptation in the context of climate. And somebody can know mitigation as an English word, but would not know it in the context of climate change or climate action. So all of that came in, and we started thinking about what are those approaches, what are those things we can start doing to make learning more fun and more interactive for young people, most importantly, because when interacting with young people is really, really important for us, because we as we are now moving, and we are still young people, but at the same time, in the next 20 years, in the next 50 years, we'll not have all the strength to start going school by school, trying to say, oh, we're trying to catch them young and all of that. But for the sake, if we're able to train some of those young people and bring them to that place of awareness and action, that means we are certified that in the next 20 years, we'll have a new soldiers and like a whole ambassadors in especially in Nigeria, trying to push, take action, and even bring very great innovations in Nigeria. And for the plan game, in 2023, we launched the plan game in September, and it's been so like it's been mind blowing to see that actually the objective for this innovation is being achieved. To see that young people are finding learning about climate more exciting, to know that people are really taking action in a very, very, very how will I even put it? In a very easy and fun method for them. Because the plan game introduce you to these words, break it down for you, not only breaking down, and you seeing your place in the action you're taking, because it brings you to saying, okay, if you're given a solution, afforestation, what are you doing? That means you should start planting trees, and all of those little practices. And for plant game, I think we started as a board, as a card game, and it was intentional for access to local communities, because you agree with me that a lot of young people, children in local communities don't even have access to all those gadgets, phones, and all of that. And it was intentional to start it up while we are working, and towards the end of this year, we're going to launch the digital version of the plan game, where everybody and all of us can have it on our phones and maybe play and have those exciting learning time with learning the environment, learning about actions to take and all of that. But for now, it's still in the card version, and it's very, very intentional for young people in communities, children in communities. And so far, we're excited to know that we've reached a lot of young people, and in over 10 plus countries, Plan Game is active right now. And we're working also on the translating to other languages and all of that. So that has been the great success of the Plan Game, trying to break down all the abstract climate science and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really love that. As a fan of the plan game, thank you so much for taking us through the journey and the thought process to creating that game. And I really love, because when we think about solutions in the green economy, we're always trying to think tech. So we think about the structures before we think about the people. In the green economy, tell somebody to think about green economy opportunities or skills. They think about coding, so coding something that will use wind turbine to clean the ocean. We're always trying to think sophisticated thinking, but to be honest, sometimes the solutions are really simple, and we're always trying to create solutions for people like us, like people that have access to internet, people that have access to phone, that can understand technology and all that. But there's a large, in fact, the majority of the world's population is, especially in Nigeria, is those people that may not even have internet access all the time, or may not be inclined to, the fancy gadgets that we create, all of that. So things like plan game, a normal card game that's like their local words and the rest, is something that they can incorporate easily into their lifestyle. They can learn from it without the need to be connected to the internet. So thank you so much for that. All right, now, Mr. Chidebere, I have another question for you. Now, how can community-driven peace building efforts integrate environmental cleanups or circular economy models? Meaning that, can waste recovery be a tool for both environmental and social cohesion? Aside even cleanup, can just any of the actions we take, cleanups, community recycling, community tree planting, can all of those things be used as a tool for both environmental and social cohesion? And how can we merge the two together? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think at the policy level, if you look at the issues of climate change at the policy level, it will surprise you how much that those that have been elected to make laws for us, how little they know about these issues. So when we talk about the intersection of climate change and insecurity, and how we can use actions, local actions, to also build peace. One of the mistakes that we make, like you already mentioned, we think we're being advised to uh, think internationally, but act locally. But Nigeria, as a case in point, would like to think both international and want to act internationally. Like you clearly stated that I would like to do the top-down approach where we think about the infrastructure first without thinking about the people. That has been very particular about our laws and policies, actually. So when you look around the economy around waste disposals, we tend to formulate policies and push laws that tend to sideline people that are key players in this plastic business. For instance, the informal waste pickers. There are no particular ways we can bring them into the system when we're drafting these laws. So taking into cognizance that these guys are the backbones of our community. If you look at some areas where they don't have this Mishara, they don't have this Babambola, they don't have this iron condemned people, you see a lot. If you go to the pantakers, you see a lot. If you go to recycling fields, you see a lot. So these guys are like the backbone. But there is also a problem. They don't have PPEs, they don't have health insurance. They are not even formally recognized by in any of the municipal waste strategies. So we have to do a justice-centered approach, which means integrating these waste pickers into cooperatives. We can also offer them PPEs, that's personal protective equipment. We can also offer them health insurance. We can also offer them or give them a kind of formal recognition at the municipal level. This will also help and encourage them to move on. So besides that, when you talk about how cleaning up and the circular economy can also help to improve peace in a community, if you have two communities that are having issues, we all know that there's, when you say Saturday is for sanitation, everybody stays at home. Now, when you come out and say, okay, fine, we need to clean this particular blocked drainage, you bring young people together. It's not every time they come together and they talk about something else, politics, football, and the rest.
Yes.
Bring them together, and while they are cleaning, you can just quickly say, do you know that we can actually make monies from this waste that we're gathering? And everybody is interested, everybody wants money, everybody wants to know, everyone know how to make money. So if you introduce these young people into this circular economy kind of template, they will be able to kind of come together and forget that they are fighting. So this calls for kind of collective action. So when you have people coming together to clean a river that is being choked, when you have people coming together to clean a particular place that has become Bola, as they say it. I remember sometime I was discussing with Aliu and Loretta about what they're doing about a particular trash area or Bola that was in their side. That area is somebody's land that person fenced, but people kept throwing trash in it. It's very difficult for even the Karo local government to clear it off. But with community action, you can actually clear that off and also kind of build peace between them. So when people come together to clear up blocked drainages, to source recyclable materials, to come together to create marketable products, this helps in building trust. And trust is what you need, like a fantastic or a formidable pillar to peace. So when you also get policies that push state governments to install or create small pockets of circular economy hub in conflict areas. So when you have when you have two communities, for instance, the Eza and the Z people that are fighting in Ebony, you put a circular economy hub somewhere between them. And then now see, instead of fighting, if you're busy fighting, I can just sell, I gather pure water sachet, I gather this, I gather that, I sell it, and I'll make some money. Nobody wants to fight when there's a big elephant to be divided on the floor. So when you create those circular economy hubs for them, you site it in conflict prone communities. It becomes a safe space both for dialogue, for work, and more especially for mutual healing. So peace building doesn't really need to happen in a conference hall, as we all know it. You gather people who start talking peace. And funny enough, the last I heard, when the peace talks were going on in Plateau State, people complained that the communities that were affected, the communities that had these problems, were not even represented, because peace talks are usually held in the city center. We all know what happened in Benue. The president got to Benue, he stayed in Makudi, he didn't go to where the thing was happening or where the problem happened. So basically, Peace building doesn't have to be in conference halls. We can as well push for things to bring circular economy hub to areas where there are conflicts. And this will now force people to work together. So it creates both a safe space, a place for dialogue, a place for work, and a place for mutual healings. So sometimes when you look at young people, you can actually encourage them that they can turn, when you see a group of young people turning sachet waters into school bags, or a community group that has funding to change waste to wealth. The example of Uke, if that project is expounded, most of the women will not have any business coming to town to do whatever they want to do. They'll just go down they call it upper Uke. They sit down and wait for the plastic bags that will be coming down from upriver. They collect them, they convert them to items, and they sell them. So when we clean our environments together, we can actually build trust. And that is something we're trying to push at the policy level. The Coalition for Socio-Ecological Transformation has over the years gone even to the National Assembly. We met with policymakers and told them, look, there are things that are happening in the grassroots that we need solid policy conversations about. We need to make for policies. And as we all know, policies are power that are frozen. So when we make these policies, we push it downstream, and then we see that our environment will basically improve. We started with the gas flaring campaign. End gas flaring. End it.
Yeah.
Because it has every other illness and every other problem attached to it. It also fuels conflict on its own. Now we're talking about just sustainable transition. So what do? Plastic pollution. End it. But we're not taking it out abruptly. You're not going to end plastic pollution like that. You need to provide veritable, sustainable solutions to that. People need these plastics to a higher degree. So what are you doing? So we need to go back and start encouraging people. There's a woman that every nylon that she gets from the market, she washes it, dries it, and keeps it. When they are now piled up to a certain number, she takes it back to the market and gives it back to these women. That's a wonderful way that she's recycling. We know we all recycle in our little way. You drink water, you keep the plastic. If you come to my house, there's pile and pile of plastic. There's this particular woman that comes to collect it. Once she comes, I just say, okay, take. She used them for other things, Zobo and the rest. That's her own little way and my own little way of not allowing those plastics to end up in the drains. I, for one, if I go to the market, I carry my own bag. And each time I forget to carry my own bag, what I do is, when you give me items that I know I can hold in my hands, I tell you, don't worry about the bag. They end up in the gutters after all. If you give me two, if you know some people are very generous with nylon, you buy 5 items, they give you 5 nylons. So if it's something you can carry in one nylon, those little action really, really matters. It matters a lot. And like I always say, the job that is being done at the grassroots level by every other organization complements the job that we are doing at the policy level. As FES, we've really, really gone ahead to say, what are we doing about just transition? What is justice in transition? So we're working closely with members of the trade union to actually push for a just and sustainable transition, both in the energy sector and also looking at the economy, our market women, and every other person. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Chidebere. That was such a robust answer. And I never thought of it that way. Sanitations, using informal, all decisions don't have to be made in a formal meeting room or a formal town hall, hall where you gather people and talk, where there's cleanup, where there's anything that concerns both communities, just in informal setting under the mango tree, like we see under the moonlight, people can make decisions that will transform their communities. All right, so we are going to give space for questions now. If you have any questions for any of the speakers or for both of the speakers, please, I would like for you to drop them in the comments and they'll answer. Right? Any question that you have, if the question is specific for any of the speakers, you can just write their name there. If the question is for both of them, any of them can answer, you can write it there. While you're dropping your questions, I just want to give an opportunity for them to give their closing remarks. So for Lorita, in just one, okay. So
Can you let us just ask questions so that they can answer before closing out?
Okay. Okay, so we have the national president for WEP here. Okay, yes. So the questions. Please, if you have any question at all, whether it's for both of them or you are specific for one of the speakers, please let us know in the comment section. I'll be checking through, reading out the questions so they can answer. Okay, I think it's a contribution. Somebody said the garbage pickers should have a registered body under the Ministry of Environment. I think it's actually very mentioned something about them and not even being under the municipal, council. Well done. All
I
right.
just
So
want to add to that question, to the question that the person asked. Sometimes in 2005, we registered all the garbage collectors as a national association with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and it's called Scavengers Association of Nigeria. So they already have they're already registered. All they need to do is that perhaps the group, Chidiberi, might need to know who are the leaders and try to see how they can organize themselves together and help them build their capacity on how to do that. The second question I want to ask for all the panelists. Thank you. By the way, my name is Priscilla Chapa, and I work for Women Environmental Program. It's a pleasure to be here. And my question goes to all the panelists. Clean of plastics is very beneficial, especially to the young people. But it also has the side effects on both human and living things. How can this awareness be created, or how will people get to know that yes, recycling of plastic and making money from it is very important, but also it has the health implications to the human and the living animals? That is my question. Thank you. Over. Did you get my question?
yeah, but I think you have to repeat it again so that our panelists, yeah, we have a question for you guys.
I think we got
You
it.
got it. Okay.
You're saying, if I may reiterate, that we totally understand that recycling is good, recycling of plastic is good, but also has its health implications. So how do we get people to know about the health implication of plastic recycling? Is that it?
Yeah, because a lot of everywhere you go to, they're talking about recycling. There's so many initiatives that are coming up. People are making money from this, but the health aspect of it, nobody's talking about that. So how does this toxics within these plastics impact on the human beings? That is my question.
Okay, so I think we should take more questions. So you want us to take them one after the other as they come? Sharon?
I think we should take them one after the other because the answer to a question may answer a question somebody else has and wanted to. So let's take them one after the other.
Okay, so Loretta, let me let me attempt this one quickly. She's asking how do we raise advocacy for the health implications of plastic recycling? Yes, of course, everybody's running into plastic recycling. It's like when the oil business was founded, people knew their research. There were also documents to show that when you flare gas, it actually has health implications. And there are also documents, like you say, that when you recycle in a certain way, it also raises some concerns and health issues because plastic takes a whole lot of time for it to be able to be even for it to degrade, for it to be for the earth itself to eat it up, to take it back. It takes a whole long. Some plastic will last up to 600 years. As long as 600 years before they get degraded into back into the environment. So for something that takes so long for it to be destroyed by Mother Earth, it will not be easy for us to do it manually. So there are tons and tons of chemicals that are out there that people use to recycle, which doesn't really sit well with human health. That's why each time we talk about recycling, I like upcycling more than recycling. So each time we talk about recycling, I always tell people while you're doing this, better look for best practices, best ways of doing this without causing more harm. Because you might go out there to say, I want to recycle this, So what does it cost you to recycle a ton of plastic? You have fire to it. If you're doing the bricks, you have other things. So how do you protect yourself? How do you cushion the health implications of it? That's why we're saying at policy level, I would advocate that we raise policies, we raise laws that will give us best practices. If you don't have those best practices, if you don't have those equipment, if you don't have those methods that we consider as best practice, then people should stop going into recycling. We should also go ahead to talk to our informal waste pickers so that when they become a standard organization, they can also help by way of, we will not sell to you our waste, our plastic that we've gathered because your way of processing it is not good for human health. That action can also work. But more importantly, we should go for advocacy, a whole lot of advocacy, because plastic recycling is now the new bride, is the latest bride in town. People really need to know the best ways to recycle these plastics. I will make reference to Uke again. All the things we did that day in Uke, none involved any way that would impede or cause more harm to human health or the environment. There were better ways. I can say those were best practice of recycling. But even though the plastic that we brought out, they were not 100% recycled, they were recycled to up to 80%. And those methods actually work. So while we want to really appreciate plastic recycling, we should also promote best practices. One that will not be dangerous to human health or the environment that we're trying to protect. Because what's the need destroying the environment when we want to enjoy it in the future? You destroy it, you won't see it. You destroy your own health, you won't be there to enjoy the environment that we're creating. So I think we should promote best practices in the recycling industry. Thank you.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank you
much
so
for
much,
that.
Chidi. Yes, Sharon. Just to add to
Yeah,
what
okay. So
Chidi has
Loretta, yes,
said,
please, you can contribute.
thank you so much, Doctor, for that question, because this is a conversation a lot of the people in the recycling sector don't want to have, because it's easier for you to recycle those little pets and say, oh, you're not flaring. But when you go into recycling heavy and tons of plastic, you cannot really shy away from that health impact. And besides the awareness and everything, I think it's time we start creating that intersection with recycling and bringing in medical and health practitioners. And their place, just like we did for the climate and health when it came in and it was very, very everywhere, we started bringing like a lot of health practitioners to come and really point it clearly to say, this is the impact of climate change on health and all of that. So we should start also adopting that same practices or that same practice in the area of recycling, where we bring in health professionals to say, okay, this is the direct impact. And this is the case study. This happened here and this happened here. Because I think when it's coming from a health practitioner or an expert, it's better understood. And the awareness is really deep to show that the impact is here and the solution is here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's why we need health professionals to also be on board the climate action fight, so that they can give their expert advice to people who would like to be involved in recycling but need to be aware of the dangers. All right, so we have one question from the comments I can see coming from Miracle Para, and it says, I'm asking relating to plastic pollution in my area in the east, which is a student area. Students throw dirt around any uncompleted building that they see. What basically is the solution as a climate advocate? So I think I like that question is specific. So she's asking for a student area where she is in the east. So those are two important things to notice. A student area. Number two, it's in the east. What are some of the solutions that as a climate advocate she can provide, or if there's already one that we are aware of, let's let her know so that she can get connected with them. So any of the panelists want to just help her with practical tips, or any organization she can reach out to in the east.
Okay, thank you so much, Miracle Bara, for that question. And just like the student area, it is the same case everywhere, where people just throw around, and it's just come from a place of nonchalancy, where people, and nonchalancy comes from a place of lack of awareness, people don't really understand the impact of what they're doing, and also the prosperity in taking venturing into solutions. And if it's a student area or a school that have like an environmental department or a faculty, that means the faculty is not really doing the job they are supposed to do. Because I think the place of environmental science or environmental management students in the school is to also widen and broaden that awareness around the school and among the students, where I know a lot of schools where they even have week, like environmental awareness week, where they talk to their friends, do a lot of activities to really create that balance, create that awareness that everybody needs. So you can scout around. I know for every community in Nigeria, there's a babambola there. There's somebody that is like very intentional about picking both the paper waste, the plastic waste, even now the organic waste. And because this is money, the last time I'm from the East myself, and from the last time I was in the East, I was in my mom's village when I saw a whole truck came and they said this madman has been packing trash for the last 20 years. And they were negotiating for over 9-10 million naira because he packed it in a very big house. So if the East is really interested and they're already negotiating plastic and paper for that amount, that means there are people doing it and there are people really pushing those kind of initiatives and business around the East. So look around the student area and try to link up with some of the some of the waste collectors, waste pickers, and recyclers around there and see what you can do in partnership and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loretta. So I would like to contribute to that because I started my journey as a student. I went to University of Ilorin, and when I just got interested in climate and environmental sustainability, I was still a student. I was in, I think, 300 level, going to 400 level. And I realized that the school, that I was not seeing any, this in there, just the normal, they come and pack this in once in a while. So what I did was that I went online. I remember then I reached out to Rita Idehai of Ecobata. She was the only person I kind of knew in the space at that time. So I spoke to her. I was like, oh, I live in Abuja, but I school here and I see this problem. In Abuja, I have Chanja Deti, I have the rest. I don't know anybody in Ilorin. And then she told me she would get back to me. So in the association, all of that, I think she reached out and she told me, oh, these are two recycling organizations that you can reach out and see what you guys can do. I reached out. One of them was the Waste Bazaar. I reached out to them and they actually wrote a letter and they approached the school itself, the school man. I think directly, they went directly to the VC or something like that, and then they struck an agreement. And that period, that's one of the proudest things I've ever done. There was a space, an empty space opposite the Faculty of Pharmacy that they gave to them. So we turned that into a recycling part. They brought in some of their crushers, their balers into school. And then we created two important programs. During the holidays, some students offered to stay back. They will help in the recycling center to sort out the waste and dollars, and they're getting paid. So a lot of students now became very, very interested. They even taking the job on weekends. The second thing that we did was that all those women that used to clean the hostels, clean the walkways and the classrooms, we incorporated them into a system where apart from the normal this year cleaning, you can separate recyclables and bring them to the recycling center. And then we're not giving, those women, we're not giving them cash. All we're giving them was that there was a catalog that they would choose from, either bag of rice, either oil, either something that they wanted. And honestly, I don't know the state right now, but I know that at least the last 1 year that I spent in Unilorin, that was one of the things that I did and I was super, super proud of. So I'm very sure maybe not in your student area, but maybe around you, there'll definitely be a recycling company or an organization that works in environmental sustainability. Try to reach out to them and see how you guys can bring the solution from outside the school gates into the campus. So I hope that's very helpful for you and you're able to implement that. All right, so I don't think we have any question again. Mostly we just have contributions from people, but this has been such an insightful conversation here from Mr. Chidebere, who is coming from, let me say, coming from the policy side, and then from Loretta, who works at the grassroots with the women and the young people. And I like the fact that they have worked together even before, and now so we're able to see perspective from policy and then from practical sides. I'm just going to give a summary so that we remember some of the major highlights that we got from the meeting. One of the things that Loretta mentioned was that when you go to communities and you want to introduce climate solutions to them, even if the problem is choking them, staring at them in the face, if you don't break it to their level, if you don't make them, give them a pain point they can relate to, That's for the women. They don't care about carbon, greenhouse emission, all of those things. And then for the young people, innovation is what they really look out for. And I spoke about gamification, the fact that if you want to reach out to people in other communities, it must not be tech, something very bogus or something very sophisticated. A very simple solution, a very simple game can help them to be able to solve their solution and their climate problems. For Mr. Chidebere, some of the major things that I got from him was that environmental sustainability, trying to solve one of these problems, whether it's environmental sustainability or trying to solve the problem of insecurity. It can create a common ground where young people and the rest of the community can now come together and discuss. Another major thing he mentioned was a practical example of areas, outskirts, areas like, maybe Buhari or Maraba, Massacre. Those areas already have like a large population. The number of people there is already a lot for the resources that are there. Now imagine that things like flooding, other climate problems, drive them out of them and bring them into town or into another city where there are already people living there. It's going to cause a strain on the resources, and before you know what's happened, conflict has started. All right, and then from the question or the contribution that Dr. Priscilla Achakwa gave, we realized that we keep on talking about recycling, and we don't even think about the health implications, which Loretta contributed that that's why we need health professionals to work with people in the climate space to also talk about the health implications. And then Chidebere also commented that upcycling is another one. And personally, I also prefer upcycling to recycling. It gives practical value, something that people can hold, they can appreciate, they can see, and every community can do that. Some communities, they cannot recycle because the nearest recycling community is like, recycling center is like miles from them. But upcycling, everybody can do. You don't need big machines or big gadgets. So honestly, it has been such a robust conversation, so many things that I've gotten. All right, but before we're going to close, I just want each of the panelists to just wrap up in one sentence, tell us what a resilient, plastic-free African community looks like to them. So, Mr. Chidebere, if you're still here, you can just tell us in a minute or 30 seconds, what does a resilient, plastic-free African community look like to you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. To say before I come to that, I just want to let us know this is very simple but an urgent truth that plastic solution is not just an environmental issue. Okay, it is like a mirror that reflects the inequalities, the gaps in governance, and the resilience of communities. So when you talk about plastic pollution in Nigeria, people mostly impacted by plastic pollutions are often the least people who are responsible for producing it. They use it, but they are least in producing it. So it's like the same thing with climate change. Africa suffers more, but we produce less, even close to nothing, the greenhouse gas that cause this thing, but we suffer more. So the same thing, people that suffer the effect are kind of the ones that are least responsible for producing it. So waste speakers, women, informal sector, market people, young people, people who are living in flood-prone areas. These are the people that kind of suffer the effects of this. So if we're serious about building a secular economy and resilient communities, then our solution must be rooted in justice, in dignity, and also in the lived realities of our people. So a plastic-free society, like you said, an African society that is plastic-free must also be rooted in justice. So you don't just come in and take away people's livelihood or way of livelihood and say you're trying to have a plastic-free nation. So it should be rooted in justice. It should also be rooted in dignity, and it also should reflect lived realities of people. So this opportunity before us is for us to manage. It's not just for us or for us to manage waste. We're not talking about our waste management because there's an entire value chain we're talking about here. So we're not just talking about our waste management, but let's look at transformative pathways. Let's look at ways to empower people. Let's look at ways to build peace. let's also look at ways to have inclusive but sustainable development. So when we look at waste, let's not just look at it from the lens of trash. Let's try and look at it as a pathway to empower, to build peace, and also to have a kind of inclusive development. So a pathway for me, Africa, the Africa of my dream without waste will be an Africa that has handled the issues of waste and plastic pollution. They should handle that with a solution that is rooted in justice. I can't overstate that, in justice, in dignity, and also in shared reality. So that should be the lens at which we should look at it whenever we're trying to talk about plastic pollution. So whether you want to do best practices or you want to do practices that are not best, if you look at it, is this rooted in justice? Is it rooted in dignity? Is it sustainable? If they are not, if these boxes are not checked, then you know you're doing something that is not good for both human and the environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chidebere. Thank you so much. Loretta, just your closing remarks. What does a resilient and plastic-free African community look like to you?
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. It's been an interesting time. And I must say, a resilient community for me would look like, I would say, prioritizing more support for local initiatives led by women and young people. And in addition, we should also think towards implementing 80 to 100% of our policy, because we already have those policies on ground. I mean, Lagos State has started implementing since the 1st of July, and we can adopt and see how we can domesticate some of those policies, adopt them to other states across the 36 states in Nigeria. And lastly, I would also make mention of integrating environmental awareness and education into local governance and part of the education system. And this is because of the young people that we are currently grooming. And it shouldn't be that once in a while thing where you go to a school and you just talk to them, and before you get to them again, it's maybe another year. If it is rooted and everything is integrated into local governance and education system, it will be staring at their faces every time. And for every subject in school, there should be just like that intersection where a child is learning geography, learning waste management in geography, learning waste management in agriculture, learning waste management in all other subjects, intro tech, basic science, and every other thing. So that's where I'll stop, and also appreciate Chidi for also mentioning the place of justice. It cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I love that. I love integrating or looking at waste in every sector, because every sector generates waste. So let's train those in pharmaceutical area how to manage to handle their waste, train those in Introtech how to handle their waste. Everybody in every sector has a waste that they generate. How do they manage that? Thank you so much to our two amazing speakers. Let me see any comments that we have. Miracle said, could we have initiatives like Echo Butter, the games replicated here in Anambra? So Miracle, the first thing I think you need to do is that you need to go online and then search and see if those kind of initiatives don't already exist. Sometimes they may exist, but they are not as popular as this one. So you need to find out that if they don't exist, then you can reach out to, for instance, like the Recyclers Association of Nigeria. You can reach out to them, tell them, oh, this is the state you're from. I'm very sure that they always have their partners or their members in that state, and then you take it from there. Sushima said, I'm in Benue State and I wish to partner with a recycling company to build a collection center here. Please, if there's anybody here that's in Benue State, or you have any contact of a recycling company in Benue State, or any organization she can start with, if there's none, that she can start the recycling. Okay, she wants to build a collection center. Good. So that means there has to be a recycling company for you to build the collection center. So anybody that has any information about that in Benue State, you can let her know. Or like I said, anything recycling, you can always reach out to Recyclers Association, RAN, Recyclers Association of Nigeria. You can reach out to them, let them know they have that database and they can give you the information. All right, somebody said, I want to, okay. Ebere said, I want to know more about the policy advocacy, that's FES, is doing. I want to know more about the
Just sorry
policy
to interrupt,
advocacy
Miss
that FES
Ushima,
is doing.
the lady from Makodi can also get
Okay.
in touch with us. That is WEP, and we'll see how we can work together in this area. But just as you said, Recyclers Association of Nigeria, which I happen to be a board member, is very much on ground and will be ready to support not just in Benue State, but anywhere in the country and create that linkages for you, not just in Nigeria, but outside the country as well as with partners. So feel free to reach out to Recyclers Association of Nigeria, including us in Benue, and we can see how we can work together in that area. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that, Ma. Yes, so including Miracle from the East, any part of the country, like she mentioned, please reach out to Recycler Association of Nigeria and WEP. They have linkages and network across the country and even beyond. So the last question is a Berry that wants to know more about the policy advocacy that FES is doing. Can Mr. Chidiberry give more insight? So Mr. Chidiberry, I don't know, you mentioned that you had another meeting. If this is not something you can answer now, you can drop like maybe your email or let her know how to contact you for more information. But I don't know which particular policy advocacy she's trying to ask about. I don't think that's a 1 minute answer. So Musushi might say, I'm a member of RAN, but unfortunately they're no longer accepting student member. I don't think you need to be a student to do anyway, but still reach out to WEP, like Dr. Priscilla mentioned, and then we'll take it up from there. So the person asking question about the advocacy, Mr. Chidebere, if you're still here, how can she contact you? I don't think this question is a 30 seconds question because you need to know which particular policy she's talking
I left
about.
my email. I've left my email with her, so she can read out. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So she has Ebere, check the comments that Chidebere has dropped his email for you. You can reach out to him for more information. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much to everyone that joined. Thank you for participating. Thank you for contributing. Thank you for the questions. And thank you so much to our amazing panelists, Mr. Chidebere Ugu and Ms. Loretta Boniface, for such an insightful session and for giving us their time. To close out this meeting, I would like to welcome Dr. Priscilla Chakwa if she has anything to say before we close out the meeting.
Something to say? Anyway,
yes, if you have anything to say, just to
this
close
is
out the
ambush,
meeting.
but just to say thank you very much for coordinating and facilitating this event. Very professional, I must tell you, and very enlightening. And to our panelists, my people, Chidiberi, and who is that, my little girl? Where is she? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And for all that have joined, I hope that you have enjoyed the session. And if there is anything we can do, please reach out to us. Look at Chidiberi putting his cap like he's a chief. I don't know since when you have become a chief.
Yesterday, ma.
Anyway, I'm so proud of you, Loretta. Thank you so much. And everyone that has joined us, feel free to reach out to us. Our information is there, info@webnigeria.net. But also to all the panelists, including Sharon, you can also reach out to her with this wealth of experience that they've shared with us. Indeed, Chidi Berry, Loretta, and all the people that are here, we need to see how we can begin not just amplify this and create so much awareness about this, but looking at the issues of toxic in plastics, because it's good business, but also our own health and the health of the living things are also very important. I guess that the next topic that we'll be talking about, which is I'm very passionate about, is the skin lightening. So watch out for that. Skin lightening and the impact it has. Watch out for that segment that we are going to bring out. The impact of skin lightening, all these toxic that we put on our body, and of course the Minamata Convention, we're going to be talking about that. Thank you very much for everyone that has joined, and Sharon for facilitating very well. Those are my closing remarks.
Thank you so much, ma. Thank you so much, Doctor. And we're looking forward to the next session as well. All right, blessing, we are done. Thank you, everybody.
So, sorry,
Enjoy the
Richard,
rest of
before
your
we
day.
go, we have a survey that is ongoing for our strategic plan review. We're going to share the link so that you can also help us to fill it and make input into the work that we're doing. Thank you.
All
Please, we beg of you, those of you that are still here, if you receive that link, please make sure that you make inputs into it, because for us it's very critical and it will address most of the issues, whether we're doing well, what are the areas that audiences such as yours will want us to focus on. Please, we are begging you, it will take just 10 to 15 minutes for you to complete. There are sections for civil society, there are sections for partners, there are sections for donors, and there are sections for private sector. Please look at the area that concerns you, and you can just take less than 10 minutes to fill this out for us. Thank you.